Not all tax firms do bookkeeping or do it in an affordable way. A lot of times you can find your CPA firm will do your books, but they do it at CPA rates. And then there's a lot of freelance bookkeepers floating around out there who will do your bookkeeping, but don't have anything to do with the tax side. Most clients, though, would rather have it all under one roof. It's easier to solve problems. And if both people are under the, working at the same firm, the communication tends to go a lot easier.
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Hey, this is Gordon Henry at Winning on Main Street, and this week we're fortunate to meet Matt Remuzzi. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show, Matt. So quick intro on Matt Remuzzi. Matt is the owner of CapForge, Inc., a San Diego bookkeeping and tax company Matt founded way back in 2000. He has a BA and an MBA, as well as various bookkeeping certifications, and he's the QuickBooks Pro Advisor and has been for many years. He's written a book called QuickBooks Bookkeeping, the 10 most common mistakes everyone makes and how to fix them. You can find it on Amazon and probably wherever you look for books. And what should listeners get out of this episode? Maybe this show will help you find a better way to do your bookkeeping that will help you get your finances in order and free you up to run your business better. So, Matt, let's get started. Thanks again for joining us on Winning on Main Street. Briefly share with us the story of your career before you launched CapForge and what led you to start CapForge way back in 2000.
Yeah, I mean, the story of my career is pretty short. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, but I did work in restaurants in college and after college, starting in the front of the house and then working my way up to general manager at some restaurants, which was good experience managing a small business. Because even though I wasn't the owner, I still had P&L responsibility and I was still managing people, hiring people, firing people, etc. So although I hated it at the time, it was great practical experience. And then I went and got my MBA and got a real, lesson in how businesses should run and learned about accounting and economics and finance and marketing and things like that I hadn't been exposed to before. And then I got out of the MBA program in May of 2000, and I got hired right at that time as a consultant at a company that worked with businesses that were looking to raise capital, so venture capital, debt financing, et cetera. And I got a good exposure there, and that job lasted all of 5 months. And then I was laid off because if you recall back then, that's when the dot-com bust happened, right? It had been booming. Absolutely. Everybody was excited, raising money. The internet was going to change everything. Business was new. It wasn't the same as old business. Turns out it was the same as old business. You still needed to have cash flow and profits to have a business work. So I got laid off in October. And that's when I thought, there's still all these people out there that need the kind of help I can provide. So let me just do some freelance consulting until I get, can go and find another real job. I'd always wanted to have my own business and I wasn't sure this was it, but I thought I had enough savings. I'd try it for a few months, see how it went. And here we are 22 years later and still going, still haven't taken a paycheck from anyone else in all that time. But over the years, CapForge has sort of evolved. I started out doing consulting, helping people with business plans and financial projections and things. And over the years, we've morphed into doing accounting services, bookkeeping, tax filing, things like that, payroll services. That was a real need. Consulting, as the economy ebbs and flows, is something that, when times are good, people are more open to paying for consulting. When times get tight, that's one of the first things to go. But accounting is always a constant need, and it still has an advisory component. So that's how CapForge kind of evolved over the last 22 years.
Yeah, great. So you rattled off a few things you do there. You said bookkeeping, accounting, tax. Do most companies use the same person for their bookkeeping and for their taxes?
Most companies would prefer to. Not all tax firms do bookkeeping or do it in an affordable way. A lot of times you can find your CPA firm will do your books, but they do it at CPA rates.
Mm.
And then there's a lot of freelance bookkeepers floating around out there who will do your bookkeeping, but don't have anything to do with the tax side. Most clients, though, would rather have it all under one roof. It's easier to solve problems. And if both people are under the, working at the same firm, the communication tends to go a lot easier. So most of our clients work with us for both.
Okay, so you act, if I understand it right, like my in-house bookkeeper. It essentially replaces a head I would have on my staff, and you
Right.
do the bookkeeping. And then in addition, I would normally work with a tax and accounting firm to file my taxes. You do that as well.
Right. And there's a couple of advantages. One is that because we don't actually touch any funds, when we do the books, we're reconciling the accounts, but there's no opportunity for shenanigans, let's say, right? If you have an in-house bookkeeper who's cutting checks to vendors, but also reconciling the accounts, that's when, every time you hear about fraud, oh, the bookkeeper made off with over $500,000 over the last 10 years, nobody knew until she went on vacation. And then we finally figured it out. That's what happens. You've got the same person, guarding the hen house as is in there, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with an independent firm like ours, we're reconciling and saying, hey, these checks went out, this doesn't make sense, or there's some missing information here or something. And it's a good checks and balances on the in-house people who may still be part of the process. And the other benefit is, when it comes to August, September, October, we can have a conversation with the client. Hey, this year's been a good year for you. You made more than last year. Let's talk about how that's going to impact your taxes. Maybe there's equipment you needed to buy. You were going to add payroll. You wanted to, set up a 401k, things like that. We can do that ahead of time. Whereas if you just show up at your CPA's office in March and go, here's what we did last year, they go, oh, it's too bad you didn't, you could have done these things, but now it's too late. So there's a couple of advantages of having everything under one roof, aside from just, easier communication.
Right. So if the bookkeeper, which is you, is not writing the checks and you don't have your hand in the cookie jar, how does the process of writing the checks or making the payments work?
So these days, a lot of times with online banking and services like bill.com, it becomes very easy for the owner of the business or their delegated person to quickly run through, see what's due, decide what to pay, and make those payments. And that all syncs up with the accounting that then we do. So we can see exactly what checks were written to which vendors on which dates and reconcile that with the bank balance. It's all easy to do, online, and things were headed in that direction anyway. And then when COVID came along, it really just kind of put the final nail in the coffin. The old school days of, the bookkeeper who shows up at the office and sits down with a big ledger book, and that's kind of all in the past. It's much easier now for owners to either do it themselves, set things up on auto pay, or just log into their online banking and go check, that's what I want to pay this week, done, or to delegate that to somebody in the office. But the old days of having a big accounting office in a business are just, you just don't need that kind of support anymore. It can all be done much more easily than it used to be. Okay,
great. So who are your typical clients? Like, what size of business is a typical client, and also what kinds of industries?
So, I like to say kind of we have one of everybody. We do a lot of traditional sort of Main Street businesses and services. We have dentists, we have lawyers, we have chiropractors, we have retail boutiques and restaurants. But one of the big categories that we've really gotten heavily into in the last 5 years or so are online businesses. So a lot of folks that sell products by, buying something from China or overseas and selling it on Amazon or eBay. We have a lot of folks doing that kind of business these days, or digital marketing, website design shops, things like that. And those are great because we can work with anybody, wherever they're located. We have clients in all 50 states and clients who are overseas, both American expats who've, decided they want to live in Costa Rica or Bali and still run their businesses, or, foreign owners who've set up a shop in the US, but they may be Romanian or, whatever, and they want to run a US business, but they're not your citizens. So we've gotten a lot into that sort of virtual world of small business. And some of those shops, you can be literally a one person firm doing $10 million a year of sales on Amazon, which, in the old days, trying to run a $10 million a year business by yourself would have been
Yeah.
a tall order. So it's interesting that, we have people all the way from startups to 8 and even a couple of 9-figure sales clients, but the headcount and the size of the business is not, it can be deceptive. Revenue is not, the only metric anymore that kind of tells you how big a business is from headcount or operational complexity.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Run your own business, $10 million on Amazon. You're the only employee. Not bad if you can, good work if you can get it, right?
Exactly. It's, Amazon as a platform, right? They have literally hundreds of millions of customers. You could think of it as kind of the world's biggest flea market, right? And the
Yeah.
cost to set up shop there is trivial, right?
Yeah.
For $39 a month, you can essentially have your own little booth at Amazon's flea market. Of course, the trick is so do 4 million other people.
Yeah.
So you have to have something that you're selling that people want and want more than the 17 other options that are nearly identical to what you've got. So
Right.
it's, just like everything else, right? The grass isn't really greener.
Yeah.
Every business that people get into, you have to be intentional. You have to put thought and effort into it. There's no get rich quick schemes out there. But that model does do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You can find products overseas, have them shipped directly to Amazon. Amazon stores them, ships them, does the fulfillment, collects the payment, brings you the customers. So if you get it right, which is not easy, but if you do, you can scale that business up much, much faster than most other businesses.
Yeah. Good, good thought there and well put. So working with you, let's just take a more typical local business. I run a service business in my town, and I have this idea that you're going to be my bookkeeper and my tax accountant remotely. So we have a sort of remote relationship here.
Right.
What are your rates? What do you charge by the hour? Just how does it work if I'm a local customer?
Sure. So one of the things that makes us different is we actually don't charge by the hour. I mean, my experience as a business owner of other businesses over the years as well, I always hated the idea that, man, the clock is running. I know how much I'm paying by hour, but I don't know how many hours it's going to be. Is it going to 5, hopefully, maybe 8? What do you mean it's 15 hours, right? You get that surprise bill and, oh, how did that happen? So what we do, and we've done from the beginning, is we'll look at a particular customer and we'll give them a fixed flat rate quote. So based on your business, let's say you've got a local hair salon, you've got some employees, you've got a bank account, a couple of credit cards, pretty straightforward business, right? I would look at that and say, based on your specific business and needs, you're going to be $275 a month for us to do everything you need. If that price sounds good to you, great. And that's what it is. Whether some months you're busier, some months you're slower, whatever goes on, you know exactly what you're paying. There's no surprises. And if all those services we provide for that price sounds like a good deal, then it's an easy decision and you're in complete control. It's a month-to-month agreement. So our goal is every month you're happy with what you got and it automatically renews. But if you're not locked in. You're not, you didn't pay a big upfront retainer. You're not on some long-term contract or anything. I want it to be very easy to do business with us, transparent and clear. And if that works for you, great. And if it doesn't, no problem. But I think that approach, along with a few of the other things that make us unique, is why, we've got so many 5-star reviews and why we've grown so quickly over the years, because that's what people want. Is they want it to be easy to do business. They want to know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to pay, and there's no mystery in it.
Right. Does the business get some kind of reporting from you? In other words, I get it that they paid their bills through you, and if they select, they can also have you handle the taxes and file the taxes and so forth. What else do they get from you in terms of like business management, financial management, reporting, stuff like that?
Sure. So every month we will send them a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet, so they can see exactly for that month what came in, what went out, and in what categories, insurance, rent, payroll, et cetera, right? How much went out and what their bottom line was. Did they make money? If so, how much? And not just that month, but we send them one that shows them all the whole year to date. So they can see our trends going up, sales going up, our costs also going up. Are they going up higher than sales are going up or slower than sales are going up? How's their profitability? How much have they made over the course of the year, not just in the last month? And then we also always provide unlimited support. So whether that's somebody calling and saying, hey, the payroll number looks a little off, can we go through that and just make sure that's right? Or somebody saying, I'm thinking about opening a second location. How much should I set aside? Would that be a good idea? Should I be an LLC, or maybe it's time to switch to an S Corp? All those kinds of questions, we're happy to field them as just part of our service. Because if we can help you make good long-term decisions for your business, we figure you'll be around longer as a client, right? And if you make poor decisions, that may not be the case. So we want to be a resource. And again, it's included. So it's not like, oh, I'd like to ask this question, but I know if I call, they're going to charge me an extra $75 or whatever. Nope, it's included. I'd rather have you ask, get the help, get the answers, and then go on with your day rather than stress about, well, I don't know if it's worth the call or the price or whatever.
Sounds like a great value for a small business that wants to manage, is comfortable managing their business remotely, not having somebody sitting there in the chair next to them, and having an expert like you and your firm take care of their bookkeeping as well as their tax filing. And I guess, as you said, since everything is virtual these days, the fact that you're sitting in San Diego, kind of who cares, right?
It really doesn't make much difference. From state to state, there's a few differences in, say, sales tax laws, or obviously the tax amounts. And sometimes the strategy might be a little different. In California, it's easier to be an S Corp. In other states, it's less of a big deal if you're an LLC or an S Corp. But, as I said, we've got clients in every state, and we can give you, specific advice to your locale. But yeah, at the end of the day, for the most part, business is business. And the questions that we get from clients tend to be all, similar, in that most people, it's the first business they've owned and they didn't necessarily go to school for business. They're just sort of doing the best they can. They're a dentist or an attorney or
Right.
a hair salon owner, and they have just sort of basic questions to help make sure they don't make any big mistakes. And that's what we're happy to help with.
So turning to your book, Matt, you wrote a book about QuickBooks bookkeeping called QuickBooks Bookkeeping, the 10 most common mistakes everyone makes and how to fix them. And when we come back from the break, I want to ask you, what are the key things a small business owner should know about QuickBooks? We'll be right back with more from Matt Remuzzi. But first, a message from our friends at Build, Scale, Grow. Build, Scale, Grow provides fractional COO and CFO services so you can focus on exponential growth. The insightful leaders at Build, Scale, Grow apply hard-won lessons to help you scale quickly and exit successfully. Let Build, Scale, Grow's experienced team of operations and finance experts install industry-leading practices, people, and software so you can concentrate your time and energy on expanding. Visit WeBuildScaleGrow.com to learn more. That's WeBuildScaleGrow.com. And we're back with Matt Remuzzi. A fascinating conversation. I mean, how you can do your bookkeeping and tax accounting remotely, basically from wherever you run your business. And Matt will handle it all for you at a very affordable price. Wanted to get into this book you wrote about QuickBooks bookkeeping. What was the point of the book, first of all, and what should a business owner take away from a book like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I put it together because we would get a lot of questions from clients or potential clients about what we could do to help them and why it was important. So this was a way to, answer the question at scale rather than in all, one-off conversations. And honestly, too, it's been a great lead generation tool, right? A lot of people pick up the book and go, yeah, gosh, I am making these mistakes. And it looks like, although, yes, I see how I could fix them, I don't think I have the time or the expertise to really dive in and do that. So let me just call this guy. Obviously, he knows how to fix it because he wrote the book. So it's been a great lead generation tool for us as well, which, obviously was intentional. And I think it goes away towards building authority and just saying, there's a lot of accountants out there, bookkeepers out there who I could potentially do business with. But this guy, maybe is a step above. He took the time to put together the knowledge and write a book and offer that as a resource. So maybe I'll pick him over some of my other choices. So all around, it's been a great tool for us from a marketing standpoint and from an educating our clients and potential clients standpoint.
Yeah. And have you found that there are certain things small business owners should know about their businesses that they don't usually know, like when it comes to either operating or financial?
Yeah, I mean, it's an area that most people would claim as a weakness. And in fact, there was a survey a few years ago. The number one most hated task for small business owners is bookkeeping. So that, if that tells you how much most people like it and how much time they want to spend on it, right there, it's not something that most people look forward to, which is, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense in that, right? We're in this for the profits, right? Yes, accounting is boring and bookkeeping is not fun, but profits are sexy, right?
Mhm.
That's fun. That's what we're doing all this hard work for. So keeping track of that and knowing what they are, I think, is really critical. And hopefully you can use those financials, the books, to make good data-driven decisions rather than going with your gut, right? What do you think your most profitable activity is, A, B, or C? Well, I like B, I'm going to do more of that. Okay, but it turns out A actually delivers double the profits of B or C. So really, maybe you want to rethink that decision. So I think it's something that's beneficial for a lot of business owners to really know their numbers better. And some of them for sure are very on top of that and dialed in, but a lot of them, that's an afterthought for them. As long as there's money in the bank account, they're not feeling too pressured to be able to cover their bills. They don't give it a lot more thought, and to their detriment, they could be doing better. They could be retiring sooner or selling the business for more if they were more careful with this process. But, it's one of those things that you have to, come to that realization on your own, or hear about it on a podcast, or read a book about it first, and then it kind of sinks in. But I think most people's first inclination is, I'm not going to worry about that now. I'd rather spend more time, redesigning the website or coming up with a new logo or adding some more products. That's the more fun part of business to most business owners.
Right. So what do you say to the business owner who says, man, I'm not a numbers person. I just check the bank account at the end of the month to see how much cash I have. But what do you say to that guy or gal?
Yeah, I mean, the first misconception about accounting is that, I think most people think, well, I didn't really love math in school, right? I got to calculus or trig or even algebra, wherever I stopped, right? I stopped because I didn't love it. Well, it turns out accounting is nothing more than like second grade math. We do addition and subtraction and occasionally some multiplication and division. That's as far as the math goes. So I think a lot of people in their heads have made it out to be, oh, it's like math that I remember from school. Algebra is hard, solve for X and all that. I don't want to do any of that. It's really not. It's mostly adding up columns and then saying which is bigger, A or B. Oh, A is bigger, so I should do more of A and less of B. So we try to kind of break down that myth that this is scary math. It's really not scary math. But then the other thing I try to, the analogies I try to share with people is, look, if you're shooting for a goal, what do you think your chances of hitting that goal are better? If you're tracking your results, measuring your performance, and seeing incremental improvement and figuring out how to improve, or if you're just winging it, right? If you're trying to run a half marathon in a certain amount of time, you're trying to lose a certain amount of weight, you think you're more likely to do it if you're keeping track of what you're eating and measuring your calories and, really monitoring, or if you're just kind of saying, oh, this chocolate bar, it's probably not that bad, I'll just have that, right? So that's accounting and bookkeeping is the same thing for your business. You want your business to perform better, to grow, to be more profitable. The best way to do that is to keep track of it, to see what's going on. Where's the money coming in? Where's the money going out? And each month see where are we improving? Where are we holding steady? And where are we not doing as well as we wanted? How do we fix that? If you do that, I guarantee you will see better results than if you don't do that.
Right. We just have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to get your thinking on an area that's critical for businesses, which is selling their business. I always advocate on this show, small business people should be in business thinking about their eventual exit for the business and building the business so that actually can be sold. Do you have any sort of top line thoughts about selling businesses that small business owners should know?
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, I've been involved in over 400 business exits for clients. And in fact, for a long time, worked as a business broker. And the number one thing you can do to maximize the value of your business when you sell it, as well as make the sale process as smooth as possible, is get all your bookkeeping and financials cleaned up well ahead of the sale. Not, hey, I have a buyer asking for it. Can you get this done tomorrow, right? No, start early, start 6 months at least before you plan to sell the business, and get everything clean. Because here's what a buyer is going to do. They're going to take all your information and they're going to start trying to poke holes in it. You said this amount is what you had for January sales. I can't find that in your bank deposits, or I can't, justify that. Or this is what you said your payroll cost was. I'm seeing more. How do you explain that? And they're going to look to beat you up. And that's either going to bring the price of the business down or kill the deal altogether sometimes. So what you want to have is you want to have your client financials done and rock solid. So they point to any number. How did you get this? Oh, here's all the backup for that. How did you get that? Here's all the backup for that. I made exactly what I'm telling you I made in terms of revenue and in terms of profit. And I have all the backup to prove it to the penny. That is music to buyers' ears. And not only is it going to make the process of selling smoother, but you're going to be able to charge a premium, because a lot of other sellers cannot do that. They can't justify what they said they made, or they're, it's a lot of, well, trust me. Well, I ran a lot of personal stuff through the business, but don't worry about that. That hurts the value of your business 100%. So to prepare to sell and get maximum value, the number one thing you could do for yourself to get there is to have clean, solid, supported financial statements to present to a buyer that are accurate, and will have no problem demonstrating to the buyer that they're accurate. And that 100% of the time is going to enhance the value that you get for your business.
Yeah, fantastic advice. Well, Matt, we're just about out of time. Where can listeners learn more about what you do and how to get in touch with you?
Sure. So the best place to find out more about us is the website, capforge.com. On there, we have our pricing, we have our list of services, a great blog, lots of other things that I've done, other podcasts and things like that. You can kind of learn more in general about how to run your business better. And if any of that sounds good and you want to get in touch, we've got our contact form on there, our email, or just give us a call. We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, business hours. Give us a call. We're happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been great, and it sounds like you provide a fantastic service to small businesses.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I also want to thank our producer, Tim Alleman, and coordinators, Diet Barnett and Daniel Huddleston. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your colleagues, friends, and family to subscribe, and please leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps us in the rankings. Until next time, make it a great week.